Gut Squad, welcome back to my channel. This is Cecily as always. Today is going to be a video all about peristomal irritation, the bane of the ostomate's existence. I have had so much trouble with peristomal irritation in the past that I've actually had to seek out help from my ostomy nurse, who's given me all sorts of creams and ointments. We've tried everything, guys, and it can be really difficult to beat peristomal irritation, but I promise it will get better if you are vigilant and you use the right products, and there are some really good things and tips that I can suggest to you guys that might help you through your own peristomal irritation issues. So first off, let's start with the definition. Peristomal means the area of skin directly around the stoma. Peristomal. Let's talk briefly about the three major reasons that I have found that peristomal skin can get irritated. The first one that I have personal experience with is fungal or yeast infections. Moist and dark areas are the best place for a fungus or yeast to grow. Fungal and yeast infections aren't too hard to beat. You just have to get the right types of ointments or creams or antifungals that might be able to clear up the infection within like a week or two. Personally, I've used something called triamcinolone cream. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Essentially, this is a corticosteroid cream that alleviates irritation from fungi, yeast, pretty much anything. I will say though, it's really important that if you get this sort of cream, which as you can see is prescription only, you have to use it as it is prescribed very carefully, because especially this type of cream, the triamcinolone or any corticosteroids, can easily strip your skin and leave it somewhat damaged if you overuse it, which I've accidentally done in the past. So please guys, don't repeat my mistake. Use this stuff sparingly. You only need a drop or two to fix up an infection, I promise. A yeast or fungal infection has a very distinctive look to it. The rash will typically have a pinprick look, and it will look almost like you have a bunch of little red bumps surrounded by a bigger, redder area. This is typically how they manifest, and if you suspect that you have a fungal or yeast infection, don't try treating it alone necessarily. Try to go to your ostomy nurse or even dermatologist, whomever you can in the medical profession who gives you advice on ostomy stuff, and just ask, hey, is it possible for me to get a prescription for an antifungal? Do you think this is a fungal infection? They might even want to run some tests if it's really serious. So keep that in mind. That's another really great reason to have a ostomy nurse that you can go to frequently for help and questions. The second most prevalent reason that people get ostomy or peristomal irritation is due to acid burning. I get this a lot because I have an ileostomy. The ileum is the portion of the bowel, the last part of the small intestine that is attached to your abdominal wall. Usually I have to be really careful about how I cut my bags, and I have to try to make sure that my bags fit me really well, because that acidic stool is very watery and it's easy for it to get back up into the wafer. People with ileostomies, J pouches, anything where the colon is not involved anymore, it's more common for us to have really watery and highly acidic stool, because the colon has a series of metabolic processes that basically helps draw out water from your stool and also deacidify it. It has a lot of buffers and other things that are added to the stool to make it less acidic. So in people like me, we don't have that anymore, and we need to be extra vigilant because our stool can burn our skin very easily if it is exposed. So this is the second most prevalent reason why people may have issues with peristomal irritation. The third most common reason that I could point out is skin stripping, which is pretty common, and I think it might be one of the most common reasons that I've seen. It tends to happen when you're constantly pulling off and putting back on, and then pulling off and then putting back your ostomy bags and appliances and any other things that you might be using for adhesives. It kind of comes as a result of using too many adhesives or using adhesives very frequently and constantly having to change your bag. This can strip the natural oils from your skin, making it more dry and damaged, and drier, more stripped skin is much harder to get to stick to an ostomy bag. So it's really important to avoid this skin stripping or skin denuding, which you guys probably may have heard of from like an ostometers here and there. Skin denuding is a really big problem in the ostomy community. So those are the three major reasons that I can give you guys why peristomal irritation may occur. So let's get into the more practical part of this video. I want to show you guys some of the best ways to apply your appliance in order to reduce the chances that you will have any sort of peristomal irritation. I have a Coloplast Centura Mio convex bag on currently. My first tip is to use the Brava adhesive remover spray. This is an amazing item because if you have skin that is highly irritated, you're going to want to spare yourself the pain, and having something that is an adhesive remover is going to really assist you in that. If it's easier to pull off the appliance, you have less chance of stripping that skin. The way you use it is you just spray a little bit on here. I have a Sure Seal ring around my bag. They look like this when they're not on, but this is what they look like when they are on. This is what it looks like as I'm pulling it off. Okay, so this bag is donezo. We're gonna throw this guy out. I'm going to clean off the area directly around the stoma. This is the peristomal skin I was talking about. And I like to use these SensiCare adhesive removing wipes. They are really nice because essentially you can take one of these guys, pull it off. It's kind of like one of those wet naps you get at restaurants after you eat like a bunch of ribs. And you can just wipe it all around. This has no alcohol. Please guys, I would advise you don't have to get the same type of adhesive removers as I have, but just make sure whatever you're getting is alcohol free, because you're not going to want to expose yourself to alcohol while you're working with an irritated peristomal area. That will only make the problem worse and dry out your skin more. Next, I'm going to give you guys my second tip. Cut your bag really close to as tight as you can get it. My stoma is a little bit over this inch line, this 1 inch line. So I'm going to actually cut it even a little bit smaller than the stoma is at rest. The smaller you make your hole for the wafer, the less chance you have of any wash back or drainage back into the wafer from your stool. Next, we are going to use the Brava moisture absorbing powder. We're gonna go in with our favorite Cavalon. This is a stoma prep agent and I love using this stuff. We're gonna just cake on that powder. We're gonna let this dry for a minute. I have a good recommendation for you guys if you're in kind of a rush and you wanna make sure that you're completely dry, because remember I said, the more dryness you achieve in the peristomal area, the less chance you're going to have irritation, because these bags are supposed to stick to not only dry skin, but also if you leave the skin too moist under here, you're giving yourself a greater chance of getting a yeast infection or a fungal infection of some type. My next tip is to actually use a hair dryer. This is my hair dryer. It's a Dyson hair dryer. Any hair dryer will do. Just make sure that you put it on the cool setting. You don't want to burn the skin around your stoma, so I would not recommend using heat. If you want to make it a little bit warm, you can, but make sure it's warm and not hot, because I feel like that would really hurt, especially if your skin is already irritated. I'm just going to give this a quick dry. I have another tip for you guys. If you are having trouble with your bag sticking, you can use something similar to this, which is an adhesive that you can use on any part of the body. It's called a body fixative. And I got this at a medical supply store. I'm sure your local medical supply store would have a similar product. Part of the problem some people have with peristomal irritation is that when the skin gets stripped or denuded, like I was talking about before, they can't get their bags to stick properly. So you might want to go and get something like this that will actually do the job of sticking better than your bag can do on its own. Mine is a roll-on, so I'm just gonna roll it not directly around the stoma. I just want to roll it around the area where the bag will be sticking and where my bags tend to kind of lose some of their grip when my skin is really dry and denuded. Then take your bag. You guys probably know the drill by now. I'm gonna put on a barrier ring real quick. I'm gonna go in next with my Seal rings by Active Lifestyle. I cut them in half, and then I put one half on this side. This is just another line of protection that you can have to make sure that your bags don't fall off, especially if your skin's all damaged and denuded. It's gonna want something like Tegaderm to help it breathe. I like this Tegaderm stuff more than the silicone barrier extensions that you can get from Hollister and Coloplast, only because I feel like Tegaderm is the most breathable of all those things. And that's it. That's how I put on my bags to avoid peristomal irritation at all costs. Well, Gut Squad, I really hope that that was helpful for you guys. I know that some people use things like Flonase and other sort of antihistamine sprays around their stomal area if it's very red and irritated. I can't personally vouch for that because I've never tried Flonase around my stoma. If you want to give it a shot, you certainly can. Please let me know in the comments what you guys like to do for your own peristomal irritation issues. Let me know if by some grace of God you never had them and how you got through life with a stoma without any sort of irritation. I would love to hear that because clearly I can't do that myself. But these are some of the best things that I've come up with over the years of having a stoma for dealing with my own peristomal irritation. I hope that it was helpful for you guys, and I'm sure I'm leaving things out, tips and tricks that you all have learned. So please leave them down in the comments because I'm sure that anyone watching this video would love to read about them. And also, let me know if this was helpful to you guys. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay safe out there, Gut Squad. Bye.